Good morning, everyone. This is Bob Iacchino along with Mike Arnold from Path Trading Partners. This is an AM Path chat covering the FX markets for May 18th. Sorry, I'm a little congested this morning. I hate talking about this stuff, but I have to because it's going to move the markets. We've been waiting for something political to move the markets, not as if it was something we wanted to happen, quite the opposite. Something we don't want to happen because you'd really want the markets to be moving on their own merits. But when you consider sort of the depth of what's happening and what it could mean, you can understand why the dollar is moving to the downside so much, especially as you take out the Trump effect from the markets in general, from the dollar and from the equity market. So that's what you're seeing, the removal of the remaining Trump effect. Robert Mueller, former FBI director, was named as special counsel to oversee the investigation both of Russia's efforts to influence the elections and anything else that comes up. I mean, the authority they've given Robert Mueller as special counsel has been to investigate this and anything else that may come up within that. So that would include Comey memos, obstruction of justice, anything else. So the market dropped yesterday, as I mentioned in the futures path chat, and as Mike showed you on the chart in yesterday's afternoon path chat, which is up on YouTube. Markets fell quite a bit. Now you would have expected overseas stock markets to fall, and they did. The MSCI Asia Pacific Index down 0.75%. Japan's TOPIX fell 1.3%, despite a big beat on that Japanese GDP we were waiting for. Last night, again, in the futures path chat, I mentioned that we were waiting on Japan's GDP. And their first quarter GDP actually came out at 2.2% versus 1.7% expected. Nominal GDP missed, but it only missed by 1/10. And we had the first quarter annualized, the year-over-year GDP beat by 0.5, by 0.5%. So despite that, you still saw a 1.3% fall in Japan's TOPIX, and the Euro Stoxx 600 index was 1% lower as of about 30 minutes ago or so, last time I checked it. So the dollar, of course, is getting hit again, although you see on this Euro chart that it's recovered a little bit versus the Euro. Mike will go into what's going on with that. The British pound broke through 130 for the first time since September. They had an unexpectedly strong retail sales data. This was for April. Our retail sales increased 2.3%, which was a bit of a surprise. It was expected to be up 1.1%. Also today, the Conservative Party, led by Theresa May, is expected to release their election platform. Her opponents calling it their election manifesto. She's portraying herself as the champion of the working class, as populism continues to kind of sweep through the world, although not necessarily win the day in the French election. We've got German elections coming up as well. But prior to that, we'll have this British election, this special election that was called by Theresa May about a month and a half ago. Economic calendar for today. I already mentioned the strong retail sales. We also had Australian consumer inflation numbers, employment change, and unemployment rate. Inflation expectation for May came out at 4%. Employment change, they added 37,400 jobs versus 5,000 expected, so that was strong, and the unemployment rate dropped to 5.7% versus 5.9% expected, so that was strong. Today we've got jobless claims for May, we've got continuing claims for May, and we've got the Philly Fed Index along with U.S. leading indicators. The jobless claims will be coming out at 7:30, Philly Fed at 7:30, and obviously continuing claims at 7:30. U.S. leading indicators will be coming out at 9. We had the release of the EIA crude oil data yesterday. For the week ending May 12th, there was a drop or a draw of 1.8 million barrels of crude oil and a draw of 400,000 barrels of gasoline, as well as a draw of 1.9 million barrels of distillates. The forecast was a 2.2 million barrel draw, so a little bit less of a draw there. A 900,000 barrel draw of gasoline, so a little bit less there. And a 1.2 million barrel draw on distillates. So there was all draws across the board, but they were all less than was expected. The market was expecting larger draws. Right now, crude oil is down 1.3% at 48.74, back below that round number, which I don't care about, Mike doesn't care about, but the markets always seem to care about round numbers. Back below what you'll hear television call the all-important psychological level of $49. It is not all important. Anyway, let me leave all that stuff to Mike because he's better at it. Mike, charts are all yours. Let him know what you're seeing.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. Euro US dollar pulling back so far today. Next key level lower, 110.93. That's what we'll be watching for. And if it falls below that, there isn't much until we can get back to the rising 8 and the trend line. So we'd be watching for yesterday's lows coming in about 110.81. And then just so you know, the next level below that's 110.31. Rally back up. Yesterday's and today's highs so far are going to be important, 111.70. Then above that, we don't have anything till 112.33. Over to the pound US dollar, continuing its rally up, caught itself on the R zone, got above the trend line, hit the defining point. Just above there is a high yesterday, and now rallying higher. Next key level that we've talked about is this 130.67. Then above that, 131.45 on a pullback. 129.89 is going to be the first level support. Next level support is coming at about 129.43. Then we'd be looking at about 129.16. Then if all those are broken, 128.87. US dollar, Japanese yen. Big move down yesterday, nearly hitting our dueling Gann levels right around that 110.49, just closing slightly above that at 110.52. So far today, it's traded down, hit the significant level at 110.24 and reacted and moved back up. So on a turn back lower, you can watch for some support at yesterday's lows right around this 110.50. Then the 110.24 key significant level, then the 109.97. Then if we have another big move down, 109.69. If it continues to move back up, 110.89 first level. Second key area about this 111.30 area, then the retest of today's highs so far, 111.42. Then on a move through that and potentially through the old trend line, 111.65 is going to be key. US dollar, Swiss franc. Pretty neutral so far, tested up and down. If it heads back lower, watch for a retest near yesterday's lows, 97.74. Then we don't have anything until 97.32. On a move back up, first levels of resistance are around today's highs again, 98.22, followed by 98.26, and then nothing until about the 98.55 to 57 area. Over to the Aussie US dollar. So far, caught between a couple key levels here. Test trade lower, just slightly below the 74.13 level on the charts. Rallied up to the 74.67. So those are going to be two key levels. There's going to be minor resistance where it's trading now, which is the flat 21, which is the top of the rotation zone, 74.39. If we get back through that, watch for 74.54, followed by 74.67, then possibly on a bigger rally, 74.80. Pullback, we're going to be watching for support around the 74.18 to 74.13 area, which is also going to re-kiss the trend line goodbye. If that breaks down, you're not going to have much until you get to the 73.94 to 74 area. And then if that's broken, 73.81. Over to the US dollar, Canadian dollar. So far, rallied up today. We got to a high so far of about 136.69, right below our newly declining trend line. So that's going to be key resistance. We're going to find some minor resistance before that, about 136.51. If we continue to get through that trend line, watch for 136.90, and then on a bigger move up, watch for 137.12. On a pullback, Very key support right around this 135.87 to 135.79. That's going to be key. If that's broken, 135.40. And finally, US dollar Mexican peso, also big reversal over the last 2 days. So far today, running up just slightly above our 12.5 GAN level, which was 19.00. So continue to move up. That's the level you'll be watching for. And then if that is broken, watch for a retest of the defining point, which comes in at 19.2580. On a pullback, we'll be watching for 19.0277, then 18.97.99, and on a bigger pullback, 18.90.24. That's all we have for you. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks to you guys for watching. We will talk to you in the next Path Chat. Cheers, everyone.